Welcome to the third volume of The Compass, your digital source of guided pathways best practices for the South Central Coast region. The following slides discuss student-centered redesign principles and how-tos, and in response to many colleges' requests, some meta-major organizing principles and examples. Before we begin, please remember to reach out to your Guided Pathways regional coordinators, Bernard Gibson or myself, Boglarka Kish, if you would like any further information or clarification. Now let's begin with student-centered redesign. We will answer the following questions. Why is your institution engaged in redesign? What are you redesigning? And how to get the needed data and how to go about redesign. Let's look at our first question as to why to engage in redesign. By now, all 114 California community colleges have joined the Guided Pathways effort, which asks us to reflect on our practices from students' perspectives and to use quantitative data. Qualitative data give us a student perspective on their experiences and how they live and operate on our campuses. Quantitative data gives us the information about results and the impact of our current practices on student outcomes. Students' feedback and institutional data point us to the processes and practices that we may need to maintain and protect, as well as examine, assess, and redesign. In the next few slides, let's figure out how colleges can find quantitative and qualitative data needed to identify the areas in need of redesign. For quantitative data, most colleges turn to their in-house institutional effectiveness departments, as well as to existing key performance indicators and the simplified metrics. For qualitative data, colleges work with their students on an ongoing basis to truly learn how they see and experience life on our campus. Consider this picture. The picture on the left looks at a student. The picture on the right tries to show us what it is like to be a student. There is a huge difference between looking at students versus looking through the student lens. Guided Pathways demands the latter from us. Our job becomes to assess our college's student characteristics and engage all groups, including marginalized and disproportionately impacted populations, part-time and disengaged students, not only to get information from them, but also to be vital parts of our redesign processes. We need to build trust and honor students' engagement. First, we need to approach students in a variety of ways to capture their perspectives. We may want to engage them through interviews, focus groups, surveys, shadowing, or even act as secret shoppers to truly understand their experiences. Once we have approached them, we need to build trust, which we can do by preparing them for their engagement. Explain to students what their commitment entails when they participate, let's say, in interviews or focus groups, or what that participation may be like when they are on actually a design team. Explain to them how they can contribute and how their contributions will be used. Mentor them. Familiarize them with community college jargon that we might take for granted. Explain to them what issues they'll be addressing and recognize their possible fear of those in charge. Make sure you include more than one student in each interaction and also on each redesign team. The best we can do by students is to act on the recommendations that they provide. And we may also need to remember that they are busy people too, and we might need to find ways to incentivize them to be involved, become involved, and to stay involved, not only in interviews and focus groups, but also in all decision-making processes. Once the college has collected robust and relevant quantitative and qualitative data, it is time to engage in student-centered redesign, which may be broken down into 4 elements. The first element is to empathize and reflect. Consolidate quantitative and qualitative data to identify successes, obstacles, and gaps that students experience. The obstacles and gaps point at opportunities for further analysis and redesign. Once the college knows opportunities for redesign, it is time to break them down into individual and manageable redesign projects. Each project benefits from having a strong purpose and scope, well-identified key constituents, an optimal cross-functional design team, strong design principles that are driven by end goals, a well-defined and detailed timeline with constraints, expected outcomes, and a plan for how success will be measured. The third element is ideation. This is when the team generates creative options. Here are some examples, certainly not a comprehensive list, of ideation exercises. Brainstorming. There are several types of brainstorming activities. One of them is called segmented brainstorming, in which individuals write down ideas and possibilities on their own. Later, the group comes together and goes over ideas, combining ideas where appropriate, and discussing and generating new ones. The team together proposes final ideas. Anonymous brainstorming is similar to the above, but the person writing down their own ideas on slips on paper mask their identities. Structured brainstorming is also similar to the above, but with predetermined restrictions. For example, there might be an established rule that ideas have to be implemented within 6 months with a budget of X amount of dollars. Another idea generating process is problem solving. Problem solving is really a systematic inventive thinking exercise. Here are some possibilities. How about subtraction? What would happen if we removed an element from a process or a situation? Could we maintain quality? Could we be more efficient? Unification. Could we combine separate entities? Multiplication. Are there situations in which duplicating efforts actually saves money and brings other advantages? Division. Is there a feature that can be made independent? Attribute dependency. Are there unnecessary connections between attributes that can be dissolved? Are there unconnected attributes that would be better joined? The fourth element of the redesign process is to prototype the 2 or 3 most promising options. Please ensure that your options are aligned with your design criteria. Rapid test, collect feedback, and if necessary, improve your prototype. If the solution is not viable, then go back to the ideation step. If viable, then it's time to implement a final design. Let's turn our attention to an actual example about what a college did to redesign its new student onboarding. The college used the student lens and used outcomes data to determine that Latinx students' persistence and completion rates were extremely low. A cross-functional team further examined the situation and uncovered several barriers, among them the fact that new students with late registration dates did not have access to needed courses in math and English. The team held student focus groups, studied available data further, and brought more faculty into the project. The leads then brought together a cross-functional design team who designed an onboarding experience that met students' needs. Notice that the cross-functional design team had faculty counselors, coaches, the CBO, the Dean of Counseling, and the Vice President of Student Services, as well as students. The team was committed to measuring its success by engaging an external evaluator, as well as keeping students involved in the feedback and design process. Based on feedback, ongoing changes continue in this onboarding practice, and the program keeps growing to this day. Now let's turn our attention to meta majors. The following slides are based on the ASCCC's Curriculum Institute slides from 2018. Not all of them are narrated, but please feel free to pause this movie anytime to study slides that are of interest to you. Here are a few definitions of meta majors. And here's a sampling of names colleges have given to their meta majors. Colleges have taken different paths to developing their meta majors, but it is important to keep in mind that this redesign project also requires a cross-functional team that includes students and strong principals with well-defined goals and metrics for success. Some fundamental principles, all of which have advantages and disadvantages, include the following four. The reduction of unit taking, math paths, which will be explained in a slide in a moment, intersegmental alignment with K through 12 partners, a career-focused meta major clustering. Other considerations may include basing the work on program outcomes and working backwards from that, and deciding whether program maps should be developed first or after meta majors are decided upon. Keep in mind that as ideas and prototypes emerge, the team may have to redesign the redesign if the first iteration is not successful. Here is a list of some other questions the redesign team may consider as the design is underway. And here are some hoped-for examples of meta major success metrics and outcomes. The remaining slides feature meta major examples from various colleges. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you found this edition of the Compass useful. See you next time.